7 FM. Lunch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose, by the way. Thanks for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate each and every one of you. And just a real quick rundown. You can check us out on our website, noogaradio.com, where you have access to our Facebook page, our YouTube page, our Twitter page. On YouTube, we stream all of our local shows live. If you want to get a look at my ugly mug, you are welcome to find it. Even though, honestly, the ugly mug thing is just me being humble. I'm just saying. I gotta freshen it up a little bit. So, broadcasting. I'm gonna pull back the veil. People don't like to know how the sausage gets made. But when you see how it gets made, it's kind of interesting. So I'm gonna pull back the veil a little bit and talk about broadcasting, because there's rumors, there's word on the street that ESPN would be willing to bring on Nick Saban as an analyst. And not just willing, they'd love to. They'd love to bring on Nick Saban as an analyst, which tells me two things. One, ESPN has learned literally nothing about what just happened with the recent layoffs that they've had. That the reason why they laid off so many people is because they've overspent for different things, whether they've paid too much for NBA, whether they've paid too much for NFL, whether they've paid too much for different personalities, right? Like, there are people that work at ESPN that make millions. And I understand that they have a lot of value to the company, but man, they make a lot of money. John Gruden is great, but he makes so much money that you can't get the man to ever coach football again. Like, John Gruden is a guy that loved coaching football, but understand that he's never coaching again. And I don't care what rumors pop up year in and year out about the guy. He's never coaching again. The job at ESPN on Monday Night Football is too comfy. He's never coaching again. Like, that's how much money they pay him. That there's no point in asking the man to coach. Every year he declines and says, no, it's not happening. No, it's not happening. No, it's not happening. It's a comfy job. He still gets to work around football, and he gets paid a ton, right? Like, their personalities over there, that just Scott Van Pelt, he makes a lot of money. I don't know exactly how much, but you know it's a lot. He hosts the only version of SportsCenter that matters still. It's tons, okay? They're trying to get Michael Smith and Jamel Hill to save SportsCenter. Well, that costs money, right? Like, the ESPN is overpaying for specific personalities, and they're overpaying for specific stuff. So the fact that they'd be willing to pay Nick Saban to be a college football analyst tells me that ESPN still doesn't understand pricing. Either that, or they don't understand how much money it would take to get Nick Saban to be an analyst, because Nick Saban is already making money. Nick Saban is already out here making that bread. Nick Saban's about to make $11 million every year for the next 4 years doing his job, a job that he does not seem to ever struggle doing. He wins 10 games a year. He's won 10 games a year for the last 9 years. At least. 4 national titles, 5 national title appearances. Like, this guy's not struggling to do his job in any way. If it's hard on him, we can't tell. All we know is that the net result is they've decided to give Nick Saban $11.75 million next year. That's what we know. Which means if you're ESPN and you're trying to lure Nick Saban away from Alabama, it's going to run you at least 11 mil. Like, this is not something that you can get someone over and get him on the cheap. You're not going to get Nick Saban on the cheap. You're going to have to back the truck up on that one. And like, Nick Saban never dreamed of leaving Alabama, but like, the threat of Nick Saban leaving Alabama for all these different places, like, I would understand he was never going to leave, right? Like, every year someone says, well, hey, isn't he going to make the jump and try the NFL again? He'd love to. He won't. Wouldn't Nick Saban like to go to an even bigger, even larger albatross of a school that he shows up there and immediately he is essentially a titan on campus, like Texas? Texas would pay him more money. Texas would pay Nick Saban whatever he wanted. If Nick Saban named a number, he could get it from Texas. He's not leaving. Because Alabama's willing to match it, right? He's never leaving. And so the fact that ESPN is looking at Nick Saban and thinking, yeah, we can get this guy. You can, but it'll cost you. Like, there is a number that would cause Nick Saban to leave Alabama. It does exist, right? And I believe this theory in life. Everybody has a number to do anything. Everybody has a number. The problem is, with some people, that number is real high. Whatever that number is, it's real high. With Nick Saban, to get him to leave his job that he is overwhelmingly successful at, that he is going to be, when it's all said and done, the greatest college football coach in the history of college football coaching. No, he doesn't want to do that. And by the way, there's nothing about Nick Saban that tells me that he wants to do broadcasting. Like, I don't think broadcasting is definitely tougher than coaching, but it's hard work, right? Like, broadcasting is not hard work the way that being a soldier or a teacher or a construction worker is hard work. But make no mistake about it, it's not easy. You don't just show up and talk. There's research and rehearsals and long days, especially on TV. They're sitting in place in front of a camera. They're doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? And if you're a guy that's in it for the football, like I imagine Nick Saban is, then all of this repetitive, boring, non-football stuff that you also have to do, Nick Saban may not be in it for all that unless you compensate him handsomely, which brings me back to my original point. The ESPN does not seem to realize that if you just keep chucking money at people in the hope of increasing entertainment value, you are simply losing money. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. And then that brings me to my next point, which is, are we sure Nick Saban is a TV guy? I'm just asking. Are we sure Nick Saban is a TV guy? Because I'm not sure. And again, I understand I have been wrong about this before. I was literally wrong about this last week. I thought that there was no way anyone would ever hire Jay Cutler to be an NFL analyst. Jay Cutler, whose notable trait is that he isn't personable, is about to be on TV where, like, the number one skill is being personable. I would never have dreamed in 1,000 years, Jay Cutler, if you said Fox is hiring an analyst, okay, he used to be a football player, and you gave me 100 guesses as to who that guy would be, I would never have jumped on Jay Cutler. And if I did, I would have done it to be funny. I would never have seriously guessed Jay Cutler. Like Tony Romo, yeah, that makes tons of sense. Tony Romo's affable, he's fun, he's cool, he's a little witty, right? He's got a smile that works for a camera. Jay Cutler is most known for pouting. That is the trait. That is the non-football trait that Jay Cutler is most known for. Pouting. I would never have guessed Jay Cutler. And we'll still see how that goes. But Jay Cutler does have one thing going for him that I did underestimate, which is that Jay Cutler will just tell it like it is. Like, Jay Cutler will just tell you whatever he is thinking. And it does not, filterless. It does not matter what. Jay Cutler will just tell you what is on his mind. He does not bother with the details afterwards, right? Like, immediately came out with the Chicago Bears Mitch Trubisky take that was both honest and made sense. That's so hard to find in broadcasting. Because a lot of broadcasting is bluster, people just acting bigger than they really are. And a lot of broadcasting, and I'm talking more about analysts, less so than reporters. But then, like, a lot of broadcasting is find a thing and have the strongest possible opinion on it. And we will talk about that a little bit later as well. But basically, find a thing, love it or hate it. That's what it is. And the fact that I heard Jay Cutler be really reasonable, but at the same time not shy away from a situation involving his former team, means that at least when you watch Jay Cutler do a broadcasting game, Jay Cutler is giving you the absolute honest truth and nothing but the truth. I can live with that. My thing with Nick Saban is Nick Saban has spent his entire career lying to all of us. So I don't know how it is that we believe that Nick Saban is going to come out and tell the truth. Nick Saban, whose also notable trait is not being personable. Nick Saban, whose also most notable non-football trait is pouting. Nick Saban, whose also interactions with the media has been, and tense is putting it mildly. He has just straight out berated a room full of reporters simply because he could. At no point in the entire process or transaction did Nick Saban ever berate a room full of reporters because that room full of reporters needed berating. Okay? They don't ask stupid questions down there in Tuscaloosa. Now, that is in some part because if you ask a stupid question, Nick Saban will leave a U-sized hole in the wall, right? There's going to be just a human-shaped hole in the wall where Nick Saban has been shouting at you. That's what's going to happen to you, right? So there is some level of that. But sometimes he reaches. Sometimes people ask reasonable questions, and Nick Saban just decides, I'm making an example out of you. Right? Like I read this book on pirates. And the thing about pirates is that lots of pirates actually managed to not kill people. They stole your stuff back in the day, but they didn't really kill people. A lot of it was just show and anger. Blackbeard famously lit his beard on fire to make it look like he was coming up out the depths of hell. Like a lot of this was just for show. Nick Saban, great at putting on a show, but the show is scaring you. The show is being angry. So I'm going to ask again because I don't know. Is it Nick Saban that we want up on TV? Is it him? He's really the guy. That's the one. All right. If that's what it is, that's what it is. I cannot tell a network producer, hey, don't hire this man. His most notable on-camera trait is that he yells at people. I understand my place in the world. I don't have enough experience to come out and say that yet. All I'm saying is we're sure this is the guy that you want. Because to be clear, Nick Saban is usually one of two states. Super mellow Nick Saban or angry Nick Saban, right? Like we had the thing last year at the SEC Media Days where Nick Saban ripped into Paul Feinbaum for no good reason. Paul Feinbaum asked a really good question about Cam Robinson and him being involved in an off-field incident where he got arrested by the police. And what is Nick Saban going to do about it? And he pushed Saban a little bit, and Saban turned on to Paul Feinbaum, respected broadcaster Paul Feinbaum, and tore this poor man to pieces. Absolutely tore him to pieces. The two versions of Nick Saban that you're going to get are really angry Nick Saban or really calm Nick Saban, like too calm Nick Saban. I don't want to watch either of those things on TV. Look around the industry. Who do you like the most in broadcasting? Like everybody, when they talk about the NBA, you can't name the lineup of people that's over on ESPN. But everybody loves TNT. Why? Because they've got Charles, they've got Kenny, they've got Ernie, they've got Shaq. Ernie corrals everybody together, and then everybody else is just goofy, fun, and they say what they say. They speak their mind. Nick Saban, even when Nick Saban has yelled at the media, has not ever been yelling at the media to speak his mind. He's yelling at the media to remind everybody, I'm the dominant force in the room, not you. It's all calculated. Nick Saban has not been telling us the truth for years. Why would we suddenly expect him to start? At least with Jay Cutler, you get the guy who tells you the truth. You get the guy with no filter. And the guy with no filter can be really, really fun. Like I typically would not think that Pete Rose is a guy I want to watch on TV, except when I watch MLB Network. Like Alex Rodriguez and Pete Rose are the guys I want to see. Because Alex Rodriguez has got the cool personality. He's fun. He laughs a lot. He looks like a guy you want to hang out with. That's a great TV personality. And Pete Rose lacks a filter entirely. Pete Rose just says stuff. In fact, sometimes he says words and we're not sure what those words mean. He just says stuff. It's wildly entertaining. Love it. Last year's World Series with Pete Rose, the best thing that ever happened to baseball. The best thing that ever happened to baseball was post-game analysis with the guys and Pete Rose. Because Pete Rose, there's no filter. Nick Saban is filtered, distilled, and at the same time comes off as grumpy, condescending, and pouty. I will ask for the final time. Is Nick Saban the guy we want to put up on TV? I'm not sure. Okay. I'm just not certain. Maybe. Like, there are some coaches, they're angry, and so the anger is what you want. But like most coaches, the reason that I don't like coaches as analysts in general is that coaches don't ever tell you the truth, right? Like, coaches like to involve themselves heavily in coach speak, of which Butch Jones is the king. Coach speak is the same thing as politician speak. It's, how can I answer your question with words, but not ever answer your question? Coaches love to do that. And as such, they make for horrible TV. It's awful watching. Because coaches don't ever tell you the truth. Coaches don't ever tell you what's actually on their mind. And Nick Saban is not different. He's the most well-known coach. He may be the greatest college football coach that ever lived, right? Right now, it's him and Bear. That's the conversation. I would take Saban right now. I would take Saban yesterday. Because Nick Saban has got a national title. He's got 4 national titles with Alabama, and he's got a national title with LSU. Oh, what you say? He didn't win a national title with LSU? You sure about that one? Or did Les Miles come in and win a national title with the team that Nick Saban built? Because I feel like that's what happened. Les Miles, a very brilliant defensive coach, showed up and won a national title with a team that Nick Saban built. Because after Nick Saban's recruiting classes passed through LSU, LSU never contended in that same way again. And Les Miles owes the length of his entire coaching career at LSU to Nick Saban. I think that Les Miles should still be paid Nick Saban. He should be sending Nick Saban checks in the mail every year to just say thank you. Thank you for building this football team for me. So Nick Saban, in my opinion, is responsible for 5 national titles. He is. Nick Saban's never had a losing season outside of his time in the NFL. He doesn't know what one looks like. So you're going to take that guy and you're going to put him on TV. And ESPN works you hard. ESPN puts you on all their shows. If you're on the college football show and you're on the post-game show and the halftime show, you're going to show up in other places. They're going to run you through the car wash. That's what they do. That is what they do over there. They work you hard. And I don't know that Nick Saban's ready for all that. I don't know that Nick Saban wants all of that. Right? Like, Nick Saban strikes me as a particularly aware person. I don't think that Nick Saban looks at that job and sees anything about it that he wants. This is not the same as my Jay Cutler prediction. My Jay Cutler prediction was I didn't see anybody that would hire Jay Cutler. And I was wrong. He walked into the guys at Fox and impressed them. I'm saying everybody would want to hire Nick Saban to be a broadcaster. But why would you? What about that man do you want on TV? Because even guys that are known for being fiery aren't as great on TV as they are as coaches. Case in point is Herm Edwards. Herm Edwards is fiery. I still like to hear Herm Edwards talk on TV because Herm Edwards is all kinds of intense. You play to win the game. Hello? Right? Like, Herm Edwards is a guy. If Herm Edwards were talking about groceries, I'd still want to hear Herm Edwards talk about groceries because he'd make you fired up to shop for groceries. He's a coach's coach. But even then, Herm Edwards is not out here telling the truth in that way because coaching is a fraternity. You cover for other coaches. You cover for players. That's not what I want out of an analyst. I want an analyst who's just going to tell me like it is. I'm the guy watching on the couch. I don't know how it is. You've been in the industry. You know how it is. You tell me how it is. I don't feel like you get that out of coaches usually. Even intense ones that make themselves very television worthy, like a Herm Edwards. Clutch with Keon rolls on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Look, man, people keep talking about how the SEC is not the best conference anymore. I strongly disagree. Next.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Parents of students in McMinn County have been notified that inappropriate touching may have been going on during a field trip to Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama. Faculty says the principal has been sent down to investigate, and the police have been notified in Huntsville. The families have opted to keep the alleged victims at Space Camp, and the alleged perpetrator has been expelled pending an investigation. All of the individuals involved are students. Gravel being kicked up by construction near the Signal Mountain Boulevard exit on US 27 has been causing some pretty serious problems for windshields of drivers. Reports of chipped windshields and cracked paint have been spreading across the area. An inmate in the Hamilton County Jail has died after what they're calling a medical emergency. He was discovered and rushed to the hospital. Jeffrey Simmons, who's 44, pronounced dead at the hospital. He was in jail on a charge of domestic assault. The sheriff's office investigating his death. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Scattered showers and storms will slowly slide off to these through your nighttime hours. Overnight lows near 60. For Saturday, a drier day, becoming breezy, more afternoon sun. Pleasant, though, highs near 75. Tomorrow night lows lower 50s, more sunny and pleasant weather for Mother's Day near 80. Beautify your lawn and garden just in time for Mother's Day with Glass Farm Nursery, featuring all sorts of color from flats, hanging baskets, trees, and shrubs. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Sourcine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Need windows? Hey folks, do you need new windows? Good news. Window Depot of Chattanooga has a great special going on right now. 10 high-quality, energy-efficient double-hung vinyl windows installed for only $29.90. That's right, 10 double-hung vinyl windows, only $2,990. And yes, they qualify for the TVA rebates. Call 894-0011. Window Depot of Chattanooga today, located at 5950 Shalford Road. Call 894-0011 today.
If I'm the city's most intelligent man, it's because I take 2 shots of Mind Enhancement Complex every day. Nature's Finest keeps me stocked with my mainstay, Formula 4. That's where I start. Formula 4. Industrial farming, soil depletion, mineral empty foods. I just say no. Ask about supplements, health, stamina, circulation, heart, prostate under control. Get the Nooga Radio David Tulis freebie. Save $2 on every 5. 20% off. Nooga Radio, the highway, nature's finest.
The American dream. Home ownership. Are you building equity for your landlord? Why not build that equity for yourself and your family? Rent No More is a no obligation, no cost program. It's designed to teach you the steps necessary and to coach you all along the path to home ownership. Integrity Mortgage Group is owned and operated by local expert Jeff Woody Woodburn. Jeff has been in the mortgage business for over 15 years. Born and raised right here in the Chattanooga area. Jeff is also known as the Lone Ranger. He's helped countless hundreds. Really eager to help you too. So don't wait. Come on, call Danielle right now. You need to reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Hey, Nooga Radio is proud to partner with Integrity Mortgage Group to bring you Rent No More. Reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Stop building equity for your landlord. Live the American dream. Home ownership with Rent No More. We'll see you there.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis, you know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling, Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash in the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is, Brainerd Road. Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds. Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Yeah, I'm pulling back the curtain a little bit. I'm showing you how this gets made. Sports radio is built on the back of one thing: the strong opinion. That's it. I'm not saying that's all it takes to make it in sports radio, because there's a lot of time and effort that comes into research and planning and staying up with everything and watching bad games and watching sports you don't want to watch so that you can cover everything, so you can be aware of everything. That's all part of the job. Now, you're not going to hear any complaining out of me, but the most important thing is to have a strong opinion. You can't have mild opinions in sports radio. And as such, you wind up having conversations about stuff that maybe people are kind of tired of, but it's the same. The things that bring out the strongest response are the things that you wind up being tired of, right? I had a conversation with my boss the other day, because we have Colin Cowherd here on the station. He comes on earlier in the day at noon. And Colin talks about LeBron James every single day. Every single day. For most of his show, it feels like it's the LeBron show. And that's what my boss asked me. He said, are we paying for Cowherd, or is this the LeBron show? It kind of is the LeBron show. And the reason why it kind of is the LeBron show is because LeBron draws nationally. LeBron draws the strongest opinions out of everybody. And sports radio is about strong opinions. And LeBron James is at that point in his career where you hate LeBron or you love LeBron. There's nobody that's like, LeBron's all right. Right? And now LeBron is at that point in his career where the conversation of, is LeBron James better than Michael Jordan? That's a real conversation you have to have with yourself right now. That is a legitimate conversation that you have to have with yourself. Zach Lowe said that the conversation was open the other day. And I don't know where Zach Lowe's been. That conversation has been open for like 2 years. Is LeBron James better than Jordan? Don't count rings to me, okay? Because Derek Fisher has 5. Don't count rings at me. Because Robert Horry has 6. Is LeBron James better than Michael Jordan? Because he's bigger, stronger, faster, shoots better outside and in, better teammate, better passer, better stats. Probably going to play longer as well. Is LeBron James better than Michael Jordan? Because, by the way, playing longer is an ability that also counts for you. It is. Being durable for longer, like if I draft a guy and I pay him millions of dollars, don't I want to have him for longer? So that's a legitimate conversation you have to have. And Colin has that conversation every single day, which is why I can't have that conversation every single day. Do you know how easy it is to plan a show when you wake up in the morning and know it's LeBron James you're talking about? I could come in here and talk about LeBron every day for 2 hours. There is that much intensity and that much opinion on LeBron. I don't, because I'd lose my audience. Nobody cares about LeBron that deeply, especially here. College football is our thing, and I find myself, again, I can't throw rocks. I live in a glass house, right? I can't throw rocks at Colin and say, well, he talks about LeBron too much. I talk about Alabama a lot. I talk about Alabama like every day. And why do I talk about Alabama every day? Because they're the most polarizing team around here. And like in the same way that you have LeBron James and is he better than Michael Jordan conversation, like you legitimately have to think to yourself, Bear Bryant used to be the greatest college football coach that ever lived. And now I'm not certain it's not Nick Saban. And like Nick Saban could win a couple more championships and you realize that conversation is over, right? It's like the Brady Montana thing. The moment Brady won this past Super Bowl 51, the moment he won that, the is Brady better than Montana conversation died, and it died right there. It died. Right? Like Nick Saban is in that stratosphere. LeBron's in that stratosphere. Brady's in that stratosphere. The reason why we talk about these guys so much is not just because they're great, but because they push our notions of what all-time great is. And you have to have a strong opinion. And when you start arguing with people and their idea of what all-time great is, you're going to push some buttons. And you are going to bring out the strongest of opinions. So I was listening to Colin's show the other day, and I do like Colin. I like his show a lot. I think it's great. I know a lot of you aren't pleased with him, though, because he constantly comes down on the SEC. The SEC is not what it used to be. The SEC has been dying. And it's funny to me because the way that Colin's been talking about the SEC and how the SEC is dying or dead or not as great, he's been preaching this for years. And like it was only true last year. It wasn't true the year before. And it's not true now. The SEC is not like it wasn't the best football conference last year. But the SEC is going to be the best football conference this year. It absolutely will be, right? And like the argument against the SEC is well, where are their elite victories, right? Like outside of Alabama, where are the elite victories for the SEC? Where are the elite coaches? What I think is kind of crazy when you think about it. Right? Like he said the coaching is superior in the other conferences, right? Like he thinks that the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big Ten are better. And the coaching is better over there. And that you can't count the number of players drafted from the SEC, which I just think is insane, by the way. Of course you can count the number of players drafted as proof of the greatness of the conference. The product that is produced is one way to tabulate greatness. Right? Like that's like saying which is the better company, Apple or Google, but don't count phone sales, right? Don't count this thing that they produce as proof that one is greater than the other. But that's what they do. Like that's what college football teams do, is produce talent that plays at the next level. If you're going to say that other conferences are better, then you have to tell me what it is that they're producing that's so much better. Because the SEC is producing all these great players. And it ain't just all Alabama. And we've got all of these great players from Ole Miss and Tennessee and Florida, like year after year after year. And Florida produces talent that seems to show up in a Super Bowl somewhere. Like you can't throw that out the window. You actually have to count that. The SEC, great at producing talent. Well, where's the elite level coaching? Right? Like if you're going to say the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12 are all better at coaching, where are these elite level coaches everywhere? Right? Because you could go to Washington and find Doug Peterson. Stanford has David Shaw. Colorado has Mike McIntyre. USC has Clay Helton. Utah has Kyle Whittingham. Right? And I see all of this. My only issue with that argument is this. What are you describing as an elite coach? Are you describing an elite coach as a guy that got 9-10 wins last year? Because there's a lot of those in the SEC. Jim McElwain, 9 wins. Butch Jones, 9 wins. Nick Saban, 14 wins. Right? So you got about 5 guys that win at least 9 games. Cool, right? Look at the Big Ten. The Big Ten only has James Franklin, Urban Meyer, Jim Harbaugh, and Paul Chryst as the guys that have won 9-10 games. The Pac-12 has more with Doug Peterson, David Shaw, Mike McIntyre, Clay Helton, and Kyle Whittingham. The ACC has Dabo Swinney, Jimbo Fisher, Justin Fuente at Virginia Tech, and Mark Richt down in Miami. So you can look at all these guys and go, okay, they're great coaches, but the SEC has a similar number of quote-unquote great coaches if you're going to go 9-10 wins as the metric, right? And then when you look at the fact that the SEC has played tougher games, their schedules are tougher. Look at the top 10 in strength of schedule last year. The top 10 in strength of schedule. And this is what you come up with. Number 1 team in terms of strength of schedule, the most difficult schedule in college football, Alabama, then Ohio State, then Clemson, then LSU, then Michigan, then Florida State, then Auburn, then USC, then Wisconsin, then Washington. So the top 10 in strength of schedule has SEC, Big Ten, ACC, SEC, Big Ten, ACC, SEC, Pac-12, Big Ten, Pac-12. So the Pac-12 played the weakest schedules. And yet I'm supposed to look at the list of their coaches and go, they have more elite coaches. No, they have more coaches that played softer schedules. Here's how I define an elite coach. It's not the amount of wins that you have. I don't like to look and just count victories and count wins and count rings as an indication of a person's greatness. It's correlated. Like if you're great, you will win. If you're great, you will win championships. But just because you won championships doesn't mean you're great. Just because you have a lot of wins doesn't mean you're great. If you're great, you will win a lot. Here's how I define an elite coach. The guy shows up at your school, you're better. He shows up at your college football program, and maybe he's got a down year. 1. But after that, you're instantly better. You're instantly better. That to me is an elite coach, right? Because if you have a standard that's too loose, then everybody can get in. And I like Kyle Whittingham over at Utah. I think he's a great coach. I like him. He's not elite. He won 10 games last year, but he's not elite. You're going to give me that all the other conferences have superior coaching to the SEC. Are you sure about that? Let me look at the elite coaching over in the Pac-12. And by elite, I mean guy shows up, your program is better tomorrow. Doug Peterson shows up to your school. And really, this is like last year was Doug Peterson's coming out party. But I will give Doug Peterson the benefit of the doubt. If Doug Peterson shows up to your school, it's better. It's better, and it's better instantly. I'm not giving it to anybody else in the Pac-12. David Shaw, great coach, not elite. David Shaw walked into a Stanford situation that was already great. And he maintained it, which is why he's a great coach. Because if you're a bad coach, you don't maintain it, right? Like you instantly plummet. Stanford stayed good. That tells me that David Shaw is the man for that job. But if David Shaw shows up to your campus and Your school's not Stanford. After Jim Harbaugh was done with it, your school is Missouri. Does David Shaw make Missouri better overnight? I don't think so. Nor do I think Mike McIntyre at Colorado, as great as he is, I don't think he makes Missouri better overnight. I think Clay Helton makes Missouri better, but I don't think Clay Helton gets you to being an elite team just because he showed up. I think Clay Helton is greatly benefited by the fact that he went to USC, that he's coaching at USC. He's coaching at a big name school in a big name football state, California. And Kyle Whittingham, as I said, he's not going to turn your school around because he showed up. And to be clear, there's only 3, 4, maybe 5 of these guys at any one time in college football. So the Pac-12 has Doug Peterson. The Big Ten, you've got James Franklin, you've got Urban Meyer, you've got Jim Harbaugh, you've got Paul Chryst. The Big Ten, to me, has the most coaches like that, in that Urban Meyer is that guy, in that Jim Harbaugh is that guy. Penn State surprised us, but we have to see Penn State do it again. How for real is Penn State? Because we were wondering how for real Penn State was all season long, and the strength of schedule of Penn State is a 12. Okay, there's a bunch of other schools that play tougher games than Penn State, including LSU and Auburn. Right? Like you have to take that into account. If you play an easier schedule, all right. So I'm going to take James Franklin, and we'll see if James Franklin is one of those coaches. Urban Meyer definitely is. Jim Harbaugh definitely is. Paul Chryst is not. Go to the ACC. Dabo Swinney, if he shows up, do you get better instantly? Yes. Yes, you do. Jimbo Fisher, if he shows up, do you get better instantly? Yes, you do. Justin Fuente? Not so much. He was good. Virginia Tech started off slow, finished the season 10-4. But does Justin Fuente show up at Missouri and make Missouri better? Does Justin Fuente show up at Vanderbilt and make Vanderbilt better? Doubtful. Quite frankly, doubtful. Mark Richt. Mark Richt is one of those guys that's interesting to me because he does make your school better when he shows up, right? Like Miami was trash when he got there, and Miami's good now. How much further Miami can go, I don't know. But Mark Richt showed up, and Miami's good. But Mark Richt's not an elite coach. He got you better, but he's not going to take you to we're in the conversation of national title hopes almost immediately. Jim Harbaugh showed up at Michigan, and you had to wonder for a while, like, could Michigan really run the table and get into the tournament? Jimbo Fisher and Florida State in the conversation every year. Dabo Swinney in the conversation every year, won the conversation once. Doug Peterson, he's going to be in the conversation. I believe that about him. Urban Meyer, Jim Harbaugh, conversation. Mark Richt is not that coach that gets you to be in the conversation. That's why he's not at Georgia anymore. Because while he's a great coach, the lack of SEC winning seasons really hurts him. Which brings me to the SEC. Where the SEC has only one elite coach. Only one guy that shows up. And immediately, you're better. That's Nick Saban. So the Pac-12 has one of those guys. The Big Ten has two of those guys. The ACC has two of those guys. The Big 12 has none of those guys. So where's the superior coaching? Every conference only has but one or two of those guys. Where is this elite level coaching that every other conference has that the SEC doesn't have? Because Jim McElwain showed up at Florida and he did a similar thing to what Mark Richt did down in Miami. Jim McElwain showed up at Florida and Florida got better. They won the SEC East. They've been winning the SEC East since Jim McElwain's been there. And by the way, Jim McElwain, the Bill O'Brien of college football, has been doing this with no reliable quarterback. None. He's been trying to win games with Del Rio. Like, the quarterback that he had that I think would have made Jim McElwain that kind of coach, Will Grier, popped for PEDs. I mean, that's not his fault. That's not his fault. This man has been winning a division of college football with no quarterback. And he's about to have one in that Felipe Franks kid. Like, God forbid Jim McElwain ever get a quarterback. The rest of the SEC East is finished at that point. Right? Like, that's a fact. And in the SEC, where you're looking at a lot of these coaches that aren't the household names that everybody else has, you've got a lot of new coaches. You've got Kirby Smart in year 2. You've got Will Muschamp in year 2 at South Carolina. You've got Ed Orgeron, year 1. I mean, you got Kevin Sumlin who's about done. So, like, Texas A&M might be starting again soon. It's not that the SEC is no longer the best conference. It's that the SEC is a conference in flux. That this always happens in sports. It's so weird when you look at the Los Angeles Lakers and say that's a team that used to be great and they're currently not good. But if you had to describe the franchise overall, wouldn't you say that the Lakers are a great franchise? Right? But we don't do that for the SEC. You want to pummel the SEC, you want to bury the SEC. And you won't look at the conference overall and say, isn't that a great conference? And no one believes the Lakers are going to stink forever. Why do we believe the SEC is going to stink forever? The SEC is going to look really good next year. All of these coaches are a year further along in their systems, a year further along in what it is that they are doing. I just don't understand this need to bury the conference. On the evidence of what? More talent, great coaches, clutch with Keon.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
Chattanooga's best kept secret, Boyd Speedway. Come see the fastest dirt late model drivers in the South compete for a purse every Saturday night. Pit gates open at 3, grandstand opens at 5. Racing starts at 7. Bring the whole family for a night of fun as they tear it up on the dirt track. Go to BoydSpeedway.net and check out the Dirt Simulator. BoydSpeedway.dirtsimulator.com. Chattanooga's best kept secret, Boyd Speedway. Fun-filled, outrageous racing. We'll see you Saturday night.
The UCRA Crate Late Model Event. Limited late models, crate late models, sportsman, hobby, and street stocks.
Boyd Speedway.
Competent, kind, caring, knowledgeable, experienced, great listener, great negotiator, in touch, accessible. If these are the characteristics you want and need in a realtor, you want and need Thomas DeMoss of Keller Williams Realty. Thomas is a very gifted realtor who puts the client's needs first. Whether you're buying or selling a home, Thomas is the realtor of choice. Thomas will help and guide you through each step of this very important process. For many of us, the purchase of a home is one of our largest investments and most important family and financial decision. Let Thomas use his 10 years of experience in the Chattanooga real estate market to give you the advantage you need when buying or selling a home. Buying a house? Thomas can help you navigate the emotional and somewhat anxious process of buying a home. For those of you who want to sell a house, Thomas uses his marketing and negotiating experience to help you sell your home for top dollar. Thomas is a local resident, raising his family here in Hamilton County. He knows the area very well. For many agents, real estate is a job. With Thomas DeMoss, it's a passion and what he loves to do. Call Thomas today for a no-obligation consultation. He makes the process as simple as possible. Call 423-364-0028 and visit his website, northriverpropertygroup.com.
Picture that curl of steam rising from your fresh-made pizza. And in a flash, let it take you aloft, teasing all your senses. I'm talking about Jet's Pizza. If you eat out at Jet's in Hickson or take home your steaming deep dish square pizza, you'll love Jet's. They use only the best ingredients in a family recipe. Also try the cheesy bread, wings, chicken, Or bread with bacon, antipasta or Greek salad, Jet's Pizza at Buy Low near the S-Curves. Open till 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday. You can order online or have it delivered. jetspizza.com. That's jetspizza.com. Or call them now. They'll have it ready when you get there. 757-1616. That's 757-1616.
Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Final expenses, funeral cost, cemetery lots, unpaid medical bills, probate cost, debts. Debts are due and payable upon death of debtor. Will these costs produce a burden and hardship on your loved ones? Who will be responsible? How will they handle them? These costs can total many thousands of dollars, only compounded greater with the grief of losing a family member. A safe and secure way to provide for these costs is with an affordable life insurance from Covenant Group Insurance and Financial Services. Covenant Group is a local company with local agents. Covenant Group still makes house calls. Covenant Group only represents A-rated companies. With many options to offer, Covenant Group can accommodate almost any budget. Great discounts for good health and plans available for impaired risk. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation in the convenience of your home. Call Steve or Jada at 423-855-8484. Call today, 423-855-8484.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Man, that's a close one. Matt Kenseth wins stage 1.
Green checkered flag is out, and Brad Keselowski has won stage 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the wall. That will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back, the field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chucks him off. Coming off turn number 2. Goes to tail. Now it's Logano to the high side in 3.
Joey Logano, a winner here at the Richmond International Raceway. Here at
Live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
The voice of NASCAR.
WDLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga, WSDT Sunny Daisy Chattanooga.
We're dealing with a global cyber attack.
The sheer scale of this, someone had a lot of resources to put into this particular attack.
President Trump tweets warning James Comey not to produce any tapes of their talks.
Why did he tweet that? The president has nothing further to add on that.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Dave Barrett. About 100 countries are hit by this round of ransomware.
It's an international attack, and a number of countries and organizations have been affected.
British Prime Minister Theresa May. Medical facilities over there could not access patient data. In London, CBS's Charlie Daggett says there's been this kind of impact.
Heart patient Anthony Brett was told his operation was on hold.
I was supposed to have a stent put in over the weekend, but they can't do it now because of all this computer hacking.
When hospital employees signed in, they found their files had been turned into gibberish, encrypted to be unreadable. The malware program is called WannaCry, and it was first uncovered in documents stolen from the U.S. National Security Agency.
CBS tech expert Larry Magid says in some cases,
the perpetrators are infecting Windows systems and asking $300 in exchange for allowing companies and organizations to access their own files.
Who's behind this? Former hacker Cal Leeming says, we don't know right now.
The list could be endless. It could be a nation-state attack, a state-sponsored attack, or it could just be a 13-year-old kid in their bedroom.
FedEx says its systems using Microsoft programs have had issues today. Larry Magid, what should we do to stay digitally safe to the extent that anybody can?
You need to update your systems with the latest security patches because this and many other attacks go after outdated versions of software, including the Windows operating system.
Wells Fargo manipulated things going back to 2002. Experts say customers had unauthorized accounts opened, and it wasn't about 2 million, but more like 3.5 million accounts that were harmed by that scam. More questions asked today about FBI Director James Comey's firing, questions raised at the White House briefing, and as correspondent Stephen Portnoy explains on cable TV.
Asked directly by Fox's Judge Jeanine Pirro whether he has a tape of his conversation with James Comey, the president wouldn't say.
That I can't talk about. I won't talk about that. All I want is for Comey to be honest.
Mr. Trump denies reports that at their January dinner, he implored Comey to be loyal to him personally.
Did you ask that question? No, I didn't. But I don't think it would be a bad question to ask.
Sources close to Comey say he couldn't promise he'd be loyal to the president, but he did say he would be honest. Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, the White House.
James Comey has now agreed in principle to meet with members of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and that would be behind closed doors. On Wall Street, the Dow lost 22 points today and wound up the week at 20,896. The NASDAQ rose 22. S&P was down 3. Now this.
Familiar with cloud computing? You probably know that Amazon Web Services offers a complete set of secure compute, storage, application, and deployment services that help companies launch and scale their IT infrastructures while lowering costs. But did you know that you're still responsible for protecting your own AWS-based assets, meaning your applications and data, from advanced cyber threats? Protect your AWS with Barracuda Network's advanced firewall solutions. Visit AWS Marketplace or barracuda.com/AWS to learn more.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining, bad odors, and lead with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to goodclearwater.com. That's goodclearwater.com.
Tragedy east of Columbus, Ohio today in the town of Kirkersville.
I'm sorry to report today that Lincoln County has lost a police officer.
And that's Sheriff Randy Thorpe says a suspect and Police Chief Stephen Desario were confronting each other. The suspect had taken a couple of hostages. They were not harmed, but that 36-year-old police chief, a father of 6, is dead. So are 2 nursing home employees, and there's no motive for the shootings that also left the suspect dead. Attorney General Jeff Sessions announcing that suspects who've been arrested should face the toughest possible charges.
I have empowered our prosecutors to charge and pursue the most serious offense, as I believe the law requires, most serious, readily provable offense.
And CBS's Justice Department reporter Paula Reed. What about the upshot of that?
We're going to see more people going to prison, and they're going to be there for longer.
You're listening to the CBS World News Roundup.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Parents of students in McMinn County have been notified that inappropriate touching may have been going on during a field trip to Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama. Faculty says the principal has been sent down to investigate, and the police have been notified in Huntsville. The families have opted to keep the alleged victims at Space Camp, and the alleged perpetrator has been expelled pending an investigation. All of the individuals involved are students. Gravel being kicked up by construction near the Signal Mountain Boulevard exit on US 27 has been causing some pretty serious problems for windshields of drivers. Reports of chipped windshields and cracked paint have been spreading across the area. An inmate in the Hamilton County Jail has died after what they're calling a medical emergency. He was discovered and rushed to the hospital. Jeffrey Simmons, who's 44, pronounced dead at the hospital. He was in jail on a charge of domestic assault. The sheriff's office investigating his death. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Scattered showers and storms will slowly slide off to these through your nighttime hours. Overnight lows near 60. For Saturday, a drier day, becoming breezy, more afternoon sun. Pleasant, though, highs near 75. Tomorrow night lows lower 50s, more sunny and pleasant weather for Mother's Day near 80. Beautify your lawn and garden just in time for Mother's Day with Glass Farm Nursery, featuring all sorts of color from flats, hang baskets, trees, and shrubs. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Storm Sheen 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Phone number is 423-800-8949, 423-800-8949. Nick Saban is being considered for broadcasting duties. Now, to be clear, Saban himself has not actually come out and said this. But the four-letter network has said that they would love to have Nick Saban on board as a broadcaster. And to quote, it would be ideal. There's no current coach ESPN would love to hire more than Nick Saban. Bet he'll be there after contract is up, said Sports Illustrated media reporter Richard Deitch. And I'm going to disagree with you, Richard. I'm going to agree with you in that, yes, there is no current coach that ESPN would love to hire more because they're crazy people over there. But I will disagree with you that he'll be there after his contract is up. Unless you're telling me that ESPN, the four-letter network, is as crazy as we think that they are. You just laid off a bunch of people because you do not have the money to pay them all. And not scrubs. You didn't lay off a bunch of no-name nobodies, okay? You laid off a bunch of quality reporters, right? Like a bunch of people who are really, really good at their jobs. Britt McHenry gets laid off. Chad Ford, Mark Stein. Like, these people are really good. Andy Katz. Dallas Braden. Guys who are really, guys and girls, some women too, who are really good at their jobs. Laid off because you couldn't afford it. Because you overpaid for the NBA and you overpaid for the NFL. And there are some personalities that you are hell-bent on paying, I think, a lot of money, a little, possibly way too much, right? Like, there is some level of, yeah, I understand paying a lot for Gruden because Monday Night Football cannot be a bore. You cannot afford for the sport that you paid that much money for to also sound boring. Never mind that some of those games are whack. It cannot sound bad. And Gruden is entertaining and knowledgeable. He's the guy you want to hear, right? He's Madden for our modern age. I get it. But that's Gruden. Nick Saban isn't going to come cheap. Nick Saban's very successful at his job. Nick Saban's going to be making $11 million a year for the next 4 years. Okay. Just signed a $4 million contract extension. I mean, just a lot of money. Nick Saban has more money than he knows what to do with. And maybe Nick Saban's one of those guys when he's done coaching football, because he is 65. Like, there just is a point where you just can't do it anymore. But like, one of those guys when he's done coaching football where he just decides, you know what? I'm not necessarily going to keep working, or he is going to keep working. Like, some people want to keep working after they're done. Some people just want to chill out and relax, spend time with the family. Sure, Nick Saban would like to spend some time with the grandkids. I don't know. But here's what I do know. If you are going to keep Nick Saban from true retirement, you are going to have to pay for it. Because when you're paying for Nick Saban, you're not paying for the personality. You're paying for all of them rings. And it was a lot of work getting all of them rings. So you're going to have to pay out of your nostrils for it. And maybe the 4 letters willing to do that. I just don't understand why. I don't understand why. Like, I don't understand what Nick Saban brings to a broadcasting analyst situation that somebody else could not bring, right? Like, Nick Saban's not going to be breaking down X's and O's for us. I feel strongly about that. Maybe he does, but highly unlikely that he does. We would want Nick Saban's experience coaching at the highest levels of college football. That would be worth paying for. The problem is, if you don't deliver that experience interestingly, then there's nothing I could do for you. Which brings me to my next point. Is Nick Saban the personality that you want on TV? This is why I had my doubts about Jay Cutler. This is why I had those doubts about Jay Cutler. Here are the things that we know that Jay Cutler is known for. He's not personable. He pouts often. He can be kind of mean. Jay Cutler wanted to be a TV personality. The main attributes of a TV personality is they come across personably, they smile a lot, they seem really nice. They may not actually be nice, but they seem really nice. Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley sits at that desk at TNT. Charles Barkley does not break down X's and O's for us. Charles has not given us the strategy of the game. Charles smiles a lot. He laughs a lot. He seems like a guy you want to hang out with. And he seems nice. So Charles works as a TV personality. Nick Saban, what do we know Nick Saban for? We know that Nick Saban is kind of grumpy. He yells a lot. He's not very personable. Doesn't smile much. Doesn't seem very nice. Well, that's what a TV personality does. They smile a lot, they seem personable, and come off as nice. Like, even if you're going to take the gloves off and you're going to go really hard at somebody else, there is still some element of it wouldn't be too weird if that person came on your show later and disagreed with you. Like, Charles Barkley has gone off on a number of people. I remember back in 2006, Charles Barkley went off on Kobe Bryant. The Lakers lost to the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs. Kobe didn't take very many shots in the game. And Charles said that it looked like Kobe was being selfish and that he didn't go down swinging. He didn't go down really trying. And then Kobe explained himself in the situation and the rationale. But Charles has a persona as such that if Charles goes after you on TV, you can still come on the show and explain yourself. Because he comes off as a guy you can talk to. So it works. It doesn't work with Saban because last year, like we're not even talking into the future. We're talking about we've already seen Nick Saban on a television set at the 4-letter network at SEC Media Days, and the man about took Paul Feinbaum's head off. And here's the thing. Here's the thing that blows my mind wide open. Paul Feinbaum was not being ridiculous. He was asking a question that's really reasonable to ask. What are you going to do about your players that have gotten into trouble with the law? Any media member, journalist worth their salt would at least lob that question out there. Feinbaum wanted to know, and he really wanted to know. It wasn't one of those, yeah, I'm going to allow you to coach speak your way out of this. I really want to know. And Nick Saban basically took over the set. He put Paul Feinbaum to sleep. It was the greatest chokehold I've ever seen a coach do in a presser. He put Paul Feinbaum to bed. on Feinbaum's own set. Right? Like, that's insane. That is absolutely insane. And you can say, well, they kissed and made up later. Sure, whatever. My point is, if that's you before the media obligations, how's that going to be you later? Like, no one's going to, oh, Nick Saban criticized me. You're never getting that person on the show. That's if, and this is a very, very big if, Nick Saban is honest enough to criticize somebody anyway. Honesty is one of the biggest things in broadcasting. People do not like a phony. They can tell, they can detect you from a mile out. If you say you know you're talking about something and then you don't know, people find out. People find out what games you said you covered, but then you weren't really there. Everybody knows. Okay, we live in the age of the internet. You just cannot hide this stuff. That, and if you say you're truly, genuinely passionate about something and you are not, everybody knows. Right? Like, that is on a level. I think Saban's not going to be honest with us. Like, we know this, right? Nick Saban is never going to tell us the truth, which is where I at least concede that Jay Cutler is going to be kind of awesome as a broadcaster. Jay Cutler has zero filter. None. Jay Cutler just says stuff. He puts it out into the ether. He just says it. We'll worry about them consequences later. Jay Cutler is in life what he is on a football field, a gunslinger. We'll throw it. Yeah, I know that's triple coverage, but I might score a touchdown here. It might be an interception too. We'll see. Like, Nick Saban is not a guy. Nick Saban is not a cowboy shooting from the hip. Nick Saban is precise. Even when he gets upset, even when he gets angry, that is also precise. To me, you cannot be a guy wanting to be in that level of control and be a TV personality, because it comes across over the TV screen. The rest of us can see it. It's not fun. It's not fun. And that's just aside from the fact that, like, TV is like real work. That's actual work. We're talking rehearsals, meetings, research, the whole nine. And who wants to do that when they're done? Like, I'm done working as a football coach, and then what I'm going to want to do after I'm done coaching at 69, 70 years old is more work? Like, maybe you might find it fulfilling, but come on, man. I just have serious doubts about Nick Saban being the guy that we want to make a TV personality. I could be wrong about that. I openly admit that. That could be a folly in my logic. I have serious, severe doubts. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. I have an opinion on the NBA MVP. And I'm not gonna pound down the door for whoever anymore, because it's pretty much already decided. Everyone knows it's Russell Westbrook. Like, the votes got leaked. You know how this stuff goes. It's him. He's the MVP. Whatever. And he's one of the guys that deserves it. Which, for me, I don't really care who wins the NBA MVP ultimately, because that award has so many different meanings at this point. What is an MVP anymore? Like, we don't even know. So I'm not even hung up on the fact that it's Westbrook. Where I am hung up is that the NBA does not understand itself. The NBA, and I don't mean generally, I mean in this particular issue, the NBA is lacking a little bit of self-awareness. The NBA tried to be the NFL, and it's not the NFL. Like, say whatever you want about the NFL, but the NFL understands what it is. The reason, like, I like the NBA because the NBA promotes players over brands. Steph Curry is bigger than the Warriors. LeBron James is bigger than the Cavs. In the NFL, there's only one player in that situation. Tom Brady is bigger than the Patriots, and everybody else is a brand. Nobody is bigger than the Saints. Nobody's bigger than the Falcons. Nobody's bigger than the Packers. Aaron Rodgers close, but he's not. You're not bigger than the brand that your team is. If Aaron Rodgers went to go play for somebody else today, Packers fans would still have to root for the now very crappy Packers. That's all that it would be. But the NFL knows what it is. So because it's a bunch of brands competing, they've been turning themselves into more of a festival. Like the NFL draft looks more like a festival, and you've got different people saying, hey, I'm going to do the second round pick for the Chicago Bears, and it's going to be some Bears legend, and all the Bears fans are going to go crazy, and there's going to be Bears fans in Chicago watching the Bears draft at the stadium, because the NFL does well with a sort of festival, an open festival culture. Let's just share football. Yeah. The NBA isn't that. The NBA has put players over brands. So we should celebrate players over brands. When the NFL gives out its MVP award, it does so at an award show. The award shows are great at promoting brands. They're not great at promoting people. The way the NBA used to do this was if you won the MVP award, then in the late first, second round, you got to stand out in front of your fans with the award they presented you at your stadium. And we celebrated you, the person. And the fan base got to cheer you on in your house. To me, that was always the coolest thing about the NBA awards. Well, the NBA's pushed this back to make it an award show. The NFL did this. They made their change. They have their award show the week before the Super Bowl. The NBA wanted to do a similar thing and have their award show before the NBA Finals. And they done messed up. Because Russell Westbrook, who was considered the MVP, not in the playoffs. And James Harden, the other guy who we were talking about for MVP, not in the playoffs. And the men who finished third and fourth in the voting, they're still in the playoffs. So the top two candidates for MVP in the league, not in the playoffs anymore. And the NBA doesn't seem to realize, because this is always going to be a conversation about people. The more you have time between when the award is given out and all the games that get played in the middle, the more you have time between that stuff, the more we get to think about how wrong we were. Like, why didn't we give that to LeBron James? Well, it's a regular season award. Like, I understand why we're giving it to Westbrook, because his triple doubles were in the regular season, but he didn't do anything in the playoffs. And this only exaggerates the fact that he didn't do anything in the playoffs, that Russell Westbrook was entirely ineffective, that Russell Westbrook had games that didn't make sense, games where he took almost 60 shots. That's not basketball. And then you have that abomination from James Harden yesterday where the Spurs take him down. No Kawhi Leonard. He's shut down by Jonathan Simmons, who I like, by the way. Jonathan Simmons is a really good, underrated player in the NBA. But Jonathan Simmons, not Kawhi Leonard, Jonathan Simmons. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. James Harden took 11 shots. He took like 8 in the first half. You're the best player on a team that they designed the offense around you. He looked like he was sleepwalking. This is not a choke job. And the NBA having the award show where we have to give either Westbrook or Harden the MVP award looks not just bad, but much worse now than it ever looked. Easily. The optics of it, okay? It's about the way things look. They say perception is reality. I disagree. Reality is reality. But perception does dictate how you operate through reality. What you perceive to be true controls the decisions you make. If you think you're drowning, you will behave that way, whether or not you are actually drowning. That is how waterboarding torture works. It makes you feel like you're drowning. You're not drowning. but you feel like it. The perception controls how you act. And like the perception that the fans have is the best player in basketball is still playing. The guy that's getting the MVP award hasn't played basketball in 2 rounds of NBA basketball. Are we sure we got this correct? It just looks bad. And the award show situation doesn't work for the NBA anyway, because basketball's not a festival. It's not a thing we all share. I like my guy. You like your guy. Let's celebrate the guys. You're not celebrating the brand. Right? Only people in small towns love their NBA team that way. I mean, we're not celebrating the Atlanta Hawks unless they win. But people will celebrate the Falcons all day. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and NoogaRadio.com.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Parents of students in McMinn County have been notified that inappropriate touching may have been going on during a field trip to Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama. Faculty says the principal has been sent down to investigate, and the police have been notified in Huntsville. The families have opted to keep the alleged victims at Space Camp, and the alleged perpetrator has been expelled pending an investigation. All of the individuals involved are students. Gravel being kicked up by construction near the Signal Mountain Boulevard exit on US 27 has been causing some pretty serious problems for windshields of drivers. Reports of chipped windshields and cracked paint have been spreading across the area. An inmate in the Hamilton County Jail has died after what they're calling a medical emergency. He was discovered and rushed to the hospital. Jeffrey Simmons, who's 44, pronounced dead at the hospital. He was in jail on a charge of domestic assault. The sheriff's office investigating his death. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Scattered showers and storms will slowly slide off to these through your nighttime hours. Overnight lows near 60. For Saturday, a drier day, becoming breezy, more afternoon sun. Pleasant, though, highs near 75. Tomorrow night lows lower 50s, more sunny and pleasant weather for Mother's Day near 80. Beautify your lawn and garden just in time for Mother's Day with Glass Farm Nursery, featuring all sorts of color from flats, hanging baskets, trees, and shrubs. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Sourcine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Need windows? Hey folks, do you need new windows? Good news. Window Depot of Chattanooga has a great special going on right now. 10 high-quality, energy-efficient double-hung vinyl windows installed for only $29.90. That's right, 10 double-hung vinyl windows, only $2,990. And yes, they qualify for the TVA rebates. Call 894-0011. Window Depot of Chattanooga today, located at 5950 Shalford Road. Call 894-0011 today.
If I'm the city's most intelligent man, it's because I take 2 shots of Mind Enhancement Complex every day. Nature's Finest keeps me stocked with my mainstay, Formula 4. That's where I start. Formula 4. Industrial farming, soil depletion, mineral empty food. I just say no. Ask about supplements, health, stamina, circulation, heart, prostate under control. Get the Nooga Radio David Tulis freebie. Save $2 on every 5. 20% off. Nooga Radio, Lee Highway, nature's finest.
The American Dream. Home ownership. Are you building equity for your landlord? Why not build that equity for yourself and your family? Rent No More is a no obligation, no cost program. It's designed to teach you the steps necessary and to coach you all along the path to home ownership. Integrity Mortgage Group is owned and operated by local expert Jeff Woody Woodburn. Jeff has been in the mortgage business for over 15 years. Born and raised right here in the Chattanooga area, Jeff is also known as the Lone Ranger. He's helped countless hundreds. Really eager to help you too. So don't Wait, come on, call Danielle right now. You need to reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Hey, Nooga Radio is proud to partner with Integrity Mortgage Group to bring you Rent No More. Reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Stop building equity for your landlord. Live the American dream. Home ownership with Rent No More. We'll see you there.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis, you know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling, Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is, Brainerd Road. Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds. Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern. The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
So the Wizards and Celtics tip off in half an hour. Game 6 of that series, the only conference semifinal series ongoing now at this point. Found out recently the Boston Celtics showed up to the game in all black. Which, if you don't know what that's about, earlier in the season, the Wizards and Celtics were playing each other. The Wizards decided to have the funeral game for the Celtics where they were going to bury the Celtics. They did. They ended up winning by about 20 points. They showed up to the game in all black, which, again, I think is cool. I like stuff like that. I just think it's funny. It's great. If you win the game, it's fantastic. Like the Wizards showed up in all black and then buried the Celtics. Like that's what actually happened. So nobody really remembers the funeral game earlier this season except for Wizards fans, which I am one. The Celtics are now showing up on the opponent's home floor wearing black. And I don't have a problem with that at all, but you better win this game. You better not come out flat in this one, because you will face a never-ending series of jokes, the likes of which we have never seen on this earth. Twitter has the potential tonight to absolutely erupt. So if you have a Twitter, if you have a social media, I'm at Sports Cloud on Twitter, by the way. If you have social media and the Celtics lose tonight, just check it out. Just check in, dip in there, and find out. That's all I'm saying. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. People talk about the SEC no longer being the best conference. Colin Cowherd, probably the biggest critic among them. I strongly disagree. I'll tell you why in just a second. But first, let me talk about Tom Brady. Tom Brady is on the cover of the new Madden, which tells me that Tom Brady is not afraid of the Madden curse. The Madden curse, of course, is you end up on the cover of Madden, and then something really bad tends to happen to you in the next season. And I don't really believe in curses and stuff like that. Like, that to me is just weird. But it's hard. Like Calvin Johnson, Madden curse. I mean, he had a great season still. He was on the cover of Madden, 122 catches, 1,964 yards, 5 touchdowns. He really, he played through injuries all season, but he really, and that was one of his worst seasons, but he really didn't have a bad season or a fall-off season, nor was he severely injured. Right? Eddie George was on the cover of Madden, and Eddie George didn't seem affected by the Madden curse either. This was back in 2001. 14 touchdowns, 1,500 yards, 400 carries. You know, again, a down year for him, but not a bad season. Ray Lewis, also on the cover of Madden, became the first defensive player to grace the cover of Madden, 146 tackles, 1 sack, 2 forced fumbles. Like, he nothing changed for Ray Lewis being on the cover of Madden. And, I mean, Richard Sherman. So, like, there's a bunch of guys out there to prove, like, the Madden curse is not really a thing. But there's also enough guys on the cover of Madden that you wonder for sure if there isn't such a thing as a Madden curse. Right? For instance, Brett Favre, cover of Madden, 22 touchdowns, 22 INTs, led the league in INTs. Troy Polamalu and Larry Fitzgerald on the cover of Madden. Polamalu missed 7 games to injury, but he played well when he did play. But he missed a lot of games because he was injured. And Fitzgerald was good. Vince Young, cover of Madden, 9-6 record, 9 touchdowns, 17 picks. Not so good. Dante Culpepper, cover of Madden, 4-7 record, 14 touchdowns, 13 INTs. Disaster 2001 season for Dante Culpepper. Peyton Hillis showed up on the scene, and then they put that man on the cover of Madden for some reason, and Peyton Hillis declined into obscurity. Sean Alexander in 07. No, just instant decline. Donovan McNabb had his worst year after being on the cover of Madden. Rob Gronkowski injured after being on the cover of Madden. Michael Vick broke his fibula, and he missed the first 11 games. Cover of Madden. So, like, the Madden curse is not real, but there are just some people, especially McNabb, Gronkowski, and Michael Vick, that you're just like, wow. Ugh. Tom Brady is on the cover of Madden, though. I can't imagine that Tom Brady is going to really decline in any way. But let's talk about another thing with Tom Brady. What if Tom Brady found himself on another team? Because Tom Brady is about to be 40 soon. Right. I know. Tom Brady is about to be 40 years old. And my question is, can Tom Brady tarnish his legacy by playing somewhere else that's not New England? Because the Patriots aren't going to keep Tom Brady forever. Like, if Tom Brady starts to slip and it looks like he might decline, he's gone. He's playing at a high level now, but as I've said before, this stuff just kind of sneaks up on you. Peyton Manning was having an MVP caliber season up until the moment that he wasn't. Like, right up until the moment when it all came apart. The injuries, the leg, the foot, the plantar fasciitis, it all caught up. It was instant. It didn't take... It wasn't a gradual building. Peyton Manning was playing at a high level, and then suddenly he wasn't. If Tom Brady is not playing at a high level throughout this entire season, and the Patriots let him go somewhere else, can Tom Brady ruin his own legacy? No. The answer to that question, of course, is no. Tom Brady has done way too much winning to ruin his own legacy, right? And like just the championship appearances alone ought to float this man to greatness. But also, we forget this stuff very easily. When a guy is great and then plays for another team and he's not so great, we forgive him for the other team stuff. And the more time that we put between their career and us, as we just get further in time, the more likely we are to just forget that it happened. Right? We just forget Joe Montana had some awful years with the Chiefs. Joe Montana, the Chiefs years, not good. It's crazy. We talk about Joe Montana as the greatest of all time, and Joe Montana in Kansas City does not ruin his legacy. Michael Jordan, the Wizard years, people held that against Michael. But when you talk about the greatest of all time, despite the fact that LeBron James is literally the best basketball player I have witnessed with my own two eyes, there are people that will fight you to the death to say that Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time, which is their right, by the way. And they forgive him for the Wizard years, where he wasn't great. He had some great moments in them, but they forgive him for that. We just instantly forget. Patrick Ewing was a great New York Knick. And we forget about the brief period of time in which Patrick Ewing was an Orlando Magic at the end of his career. And it was horrid. It's as bad as you thought it was. It might be worse. It might be worse than what you thought it was. All I'm saying is Patrick Ewing played for the Orlando Magic, and we don't talk about that at all. Don't talk about it. Gary Payton and Karl Malone played for the Los Angeles Lakers and went to an NBA Finals where they were absolutely useless. And so far as anybody is concerned, we don't even remember the Laker years of Karl Malone. We forgive the greats for those years where they are on other teams. You cannot ruin your legacy. You can't. Because the further we get from your career to now, the more time and distance we put between your career and us, the more we just forget the bad stuff. Truly and honestly, just forget the bad stuff that happened. All the time. All the time. So now Tom Brady can't do anything to ruin his own legacy. What's he going to do? We still have to remember that the man has gone to 6 Super Bowls. We still have to remember that the man has won 5. And that before it's all said and done, he might go to 7. They're the best team in the NFL next year. The Patriots are hands down the best team in the NFL next year. It's not even close. And then they play in that weak sauce division. They're going to be in the playoffs again. They're going to be primed to make a run. Maybe they even have healthy Rob Gronkowski this year. There's no way. There's no way. He might go to 7. If Tom Brady goes to 7 Super Bowls and has come away with him winning 6, Tom Brady could never ruin his own legacy. Tom Brady could smack a small child in the streets and not ruin his legacy. He could do that. That's the level that he's at. He can't ruin his legacy. If Tom Brady plays some bad football somewhere else, let's pick a team where he could potentially play some really bad football somewhere. Let's say that he plays in Let's give him I'm trying to figure out a sufficiently bad team, but not a team that's unlikely. Like Cleveland is too bad. Cleveland would never work. And he'd have weapons in Cincinnati. Where's a team that's bad enough for Tom Brady to go that he could foreseeably go to? I don't know, possibly the Niners. California kid, grew up being a Niners fan, grew up idolizing Joe Montana. Kyle Shanahan is not a bad coach. John Lynch, proven that he's got some chops as a GM over there. So there's clearly a plan in San Francisco. Maybe Tom Brady plays some of his bad football years in San Francisco. And he could still never play poorly enough for us to forget everything else. Right? Like Peyton Manning's last year, we're already forgetting how bad that was. It ended with the Super Bowl. We are already forgetting how bad the last year of Peyton Manning was. Already forgetting it. They're giving Peyton Manning a statue outside of Indianapolis. Why? Because he's the greatest regular season quarterback. It really doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. He's great. And that's all that we'll remember in the end is the greatness. You can't ruin your legacy. That's why I say let these guys just play for as long as they want to play. People are like, I don't want to remember you being bad at sports. Get over yourself and realize that in 15 years, you're not going to remember them being bad at sports. Nobody will. And when your kids look up the videos on YouTube of how great this person was, when you have to try and explain how great Tom Brady or Peyton Manning were, the only stuff they're going to find is when he was good. They're not going to find any of the bad years. None. The only thing we're going to remember about Peyton's final year is that he ended it holding up Lombardi. All that other stuff, not really. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. The SEC last season was not the best conference in football. I feel safe arguing that, in large part because the SEC East was awful. Horrendous, in fact. But here's something to note. The SEC will be the best conference in football again because the SEC has something that a lot of other people don't have, which is a lot of young coaches, a lot of coaches that are new to their situations, right? Missouri and Barry Odom. I don't expect them to be much better, but they should improve, right? South Carolina under Will Muschamp should improve. Georgia under Kirby Smart should improve. Jim McElwain of Florida with an actual quarterback should definitely improve, quite frankly. And I don't know that Tennessee regresses. Tennessee probably just stays about the same, which is not really great in a conference where everybody else can possibly elevate. But regardless, a lot of these losses, by the way, by these SEC schools are in conference, right? Like they win 9-10 games a year, every year. And as these coaches start to settle into their places, you look at all the new coaches around the league or coaches that have quarterbacks finally, right? Gus Malzahn, it's a make or break year for him, but he's got Jarrett Stidham. I think they're going to be fine. In fact, I think they're going to be great. LSU and Ed Orgeron, it's year 2 for the guy, and really this should count as year 1, right? Because he jumped in the middle. He was the interim head coach, and then he just took the job and decided, you know what? I'm from Louisiana. I think I'm gonna keep this. I think I'm just gonna hold on to this one, which is fine. Like Ed Orgeron, you knew that the moment that he got that job, he had no intentions of ever giving it back. And like another year, a full year of that for him, to me, looks like a much improved football team. They've got an offensive coordinator in Matt Canada. They've got Danny Etling, who is good enough, right? Again, giving them that time to find an elite quarterback. The SEC is going to be a monster again next year. Like the best college football being played in the Pac-12 to me is alarming when you only have, in terms of strength of schedule, 2 schools in the top 10 of strongest schedules, and they're at the bottom. They're 8 and 10. The Pac-12 doesn't play anybody. Right? Like LSU and Auburn, who were not even schools that people thought were contenders last year, played 2 of the top 7 most difficult schedules in college football. And one team did it with no real quarterback, Auburn, and the other team did it with an interim head coach, LSU. To talk about the weakness of the SEC this year without talking about any of the circumstances, this is not a bunch of weak schools having Alabama in it. Alabama does lift and elevate the SEC to other levels. But you know what? Ohio State lifts the Big Ten because, like, no one's truly terrified of Michigan. Jim Harbaugh hasn't beaten a rival yet. No one's truly terrified of Penn State. We got to see James Franklin do it back-to-back years. No one's truly afraid of Paul Chryst at Wisconsin. Only Ohio State really lifts the Big Ten to this status where we consider them to be an elite conference. The ACC. List of coaches in the ACC that you are truly afraid of. Dabo Swinney, Jimbo Fisher. That's it. End of conversation. I'm not afraid of Mark Richt. I like him, but I'm not afraid of him. I'm not afraid of Justin Fuente. Again, good coach. Not afraid of him. Pac-12. Who am I afraid of in the Pac-12? Honestly, nobody. I'm actually not afraid of Doug Peterson. A coach, I'm a big Doug Peterson fan. Not afraid of Doug Peterson. Not afraid of David Shaw. Not afraid of Mike McIntyre. Not afraid of Clay Helton. Not afraid of Kyle Whittingham. I'm just not. The only thing that I'm afraid of in the Pac-12 is the quarterback play, and that Sam Darnold is the reason why. Sam Darnold, the kid at USC. If USC does not have Sam Darnold, there is not a team in that conference that scares me. Not at all. Not at all. You got to be kidding me. I mean, you talk about all of this superior coaching, and of the other three conferences, everybody only has one or two elite coaches. And I'm not talking about guys that have won 9 or 10 games last year. I'm talking about a guy that shows up to your school, and your school is Missouri. Your school is not good. And you get to be elite almost immediately. Can take your school from nothing to elite almost immediately. Right? Like Art Briles is one of those guys to me because he showed up at Baylor University, who was most known for simply being a joke. They now have a new football stadium. There's a statue of Robert Griffin III out in front of said football stadium because Art Briles, who is not a good person, but a really great football coach, showed up and instantly made them better. A coach that does something like that, where you've got one down year because he tries to get everything together, and then you're immediately good. Every conference only has but one or two of those guys. The Pac-12 only has one. It's Peterson. The Big Ten only has two. Urban Meyer, Jim Harbaugh. The ACC only has two. Dabo Swinney, Jimbo Fisher. The SEC's got one. It's Nick Saban. It's okay to only have one elite coach in your conference. Most conferences do. And the Big 12 doesn't have any. Like Bob Stoops, to me, maybe it's just because of his failures to get over the mountain and to actually win the big football games. I don't know that Bob Stoops shows up to your campus. Bob Stoops shows up to a Missouri and in a year has Missouri firing on all cylinders. I don't know that to be an absolute fact. Not afraid of Bob Stoops. Like Big 12 doesn't have any. SEC's got one. ACC's got two. Big 10's got two. Pac-12's got one. So don't give me all the other conferences have better coaches. Really? All the other conferences look the same. You've got a couple of schools holding up the whole conference. These conferences aren't deep. That's a myth right there. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 at 92.7 FM. Make sure to check us out at NoogaRadio.com. Remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you all next week.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
Chattanooga's best kept secret, Boyd Speedway. Come see the fastest dirt late model drivers